Attraction isn't polite, it isn't negotiated, it isn't even a choice. As a matter of fact, it's biochemical. And the hormone at the center of it all isn't, contrary to common belief, testosterone, it is DHT. So like I've said, many of you may have personal gripes with this, but testosterone, let me just pause for 1 second there. DHT is 2.5 to 10 times stronger than testosterone at the androgen receptor. So what does this mean? DHT has a 2 to 3 times higher binding affinity for androgen receptors than testosterone, and up to 10 times stronger in transcriptional activity. And for the skeptics among you, I will say that this is masculine theory. A lot of what I say is based in theories, but there are quite a lot of hard facts, so I've included some scientific references for you skeptics out there. Specifically, Wilson, role of dihydrotestosterone in androgen action. But what does this mean? This sounds over complex. What does binding affinity equate to? It equates to how tightly the hormone sticks to the receptor, how tightly it binds and therefore permeates and communicates with the receptor, the uptake in the masculine gene expression. So a lot of this, guys, I have detailed much of this in my book, Masculine Gene Expression. Thank you in advance for everybody that has purchased it. Or you could get it for free when you join my Patreon as well. The transcriptional activity equates to how powerful the receptor hormone complex is at actually switching on or off the genes when it's bound. So this, again, is the premise of my book, Masculine Gene Expression. When a lot of men speak about wanting higher testosterone, it's actually a misnomer. What they mean to say is they want the genes and characteristics that are associated with testosterone. And if we have come to understand, as I have prefaced in this video, that DHT is 2 to 3 times stronger in binding affinity and 10 times stronger in transcriptional activity, equating to 2.5 to 10 times stronger than testosterone, then it would be more accurate to identify and concentrate our activity on increasing DHT rather than testosterone, if you agree with my initial premise on masculine gene expression being the fundamental axiom in which we are organizing a lot of our actions, habits, and daily activity. Just to reiterate, you have been told testosterone is the king of hormones. This is incorrect. Testosterone is merely the apprentice. The real king, the return of the king, the molecule women can smell in your presence is dihydrotestosterone, DHT. When your DHT spikes, your face hardens, your voice deepens, your jaw carves itself like stone. This is virility incarnate. This is fertility in a metaphorical sense. And again, some references to some scientific studies should the skeptics have need for them. Now, what we can take away from this is that attraction is felt rather than understood or rationalized. So I want to kind of pass out this point before I go into the outcomes of DHT. You would have heard many, many times on many of these red pill channels, and I impress upon you to limit your exposure to them. Otherwise, they're gonna mess up your mind and they're gonna make you suffer needlessly. Her checklist doesn't matter. Women are more sensitive to subconscious attraction, which is what I'm describing here, especially, this is the key, especially in contexts where social judgment isn't possible. Now, a lot of what I'm going to say is anecdotal, but I know for a fact, you watching this video now, you would have had direct experience with this. In contexts where a woman is not liable to be persecuted socially, you will notice that she is more sexually available to you. What specifically am I referring to? If you ever meet women on holiday, if you ever go to maybe university for specifically in the first year, if you ever meet a woman when you are traveling or she's traveling alone, you will notice comparatively to maybe the women in your local home circle, they are far easier to attract and far easier to have sexual relations with. Why is that? Because a lot of women move from this perspective now, especially when everything is so, what would you say? Everything is recorded, everything is documented, everything is every single action is looked under a microscope. They are in many ways sensitive towards how they're received in terms of their reputation. That's why when you watch these videos and, it's the typical someone interviewing a woman on a night out on the streets and they're asking, what's important to you in a man? That's why they embellish. That's why they say they have to be over 6 foot. They have to meet these 6 figures. They have to... We need to understand and go beyond. We need to be a little bit more intelligent in saying that it's just delusion. It's not just delusion. Delusion is a big part of it, but it's also her marketing her value. She is not going to say that any other man or any old man is going to do for her, because she needs to ensure that reputation is held to a certain standard. But when the camera is off, when you meet women in these social contexts, like I told you, on a holiday, traveling is a really, really big one, you will notice the degree to which she sleeps with a man comparatively to what she says on these videos or markets online is a lot lowered than her perceived standard. In short, there's a difference between what she says and what she actually does. I cannot tell you how many times I have dated a woman who has said all of these things, the typical enraged feminist, and I've bed them. And again, this is crass, but this is way back in my kind of university debauchery degenerate days. I slept with women significantly taller than me, 2 to 3 inches sometimes taller than me. The kind of women who are so obsessed with portraying themselves as sexually attractive that they get Botox maybe even before their 20th birthday. And not to go too much into specifics here, but I'm just trying to convey to you the point that so many men put emphasis on what she says as being gospel, and it's not. It's fiction. It is a facade. It is a false front. It is all an attempt to show and share and document to the world that they are of a certain value and they will not step below that value. But in actual fact, her rationalization doesn't matter. Attraction is felt, especially if you are maximizing your masculine gene expression. So the nervous system is wired to detect androgen-driven cues: jawline, scent, posture, aggression, confidence. You can fake charisma, you can fake wealth, but you cannot fake DHT. Attraction is a choice. It is a reflex. And if you don't believe me, studies have shown women rate men with higher testosterone and DHT markers, such as face width to height ratio and masculine scent profile specifically, as more dominant and therefore attractive. And you can check out the Rodney J.R. et al. Study on estradiol predicting within women shifts attraction to facial cues. But I'll just leave you with some free game here. The Ferdenzi et al. Study in 2009, women rated men's body oil odors collected from worn t-shirts. This is known as the t-shirt study. The most attractive scents were linked to men with higher circulating testosterone and by extension higher DHT, since T converts to DHT in the skin. The preferred scents were described as, and this is verbatim, word for word, the scent was more intense, more dominant, and more masculine, less sweet and less neutral. Importantly, women's preferences shifted across the menstrual cycle. So in fertile phases, high estradiol goes up, and then they showed stronger attraction to high testosterone / DHT scent profiles. Essentially, when women are most fertile, they lean towards the smell of a man with stronger androgen signatures. That is not a conscious choice. It is a reflex. It's also why you'll find a lot of infidelity happens during this fertile phase. And especially if a woman is on birth control and then she goes off birth control, or an easier way to describe it is when her body thinks she is pregnant versus when she actually knows she isn't pregnant, because that's what the pill does, by the way. It feigns pregnancy. Therefore, imagine this. Imagine if you're communicating to your body that you're already pregnant. It makes no sense for the body to become receptive to high androgen signatures to get pregnant, because you cannot get pregnant again. Therefore, the effect sometimes of women coming off birth control and being with a partner is catastrophic, because now she's going to be more sensitive towards the androgen signatures. There's a lot of facts in there, very limited theories. Speak soon.